picture this. It's 2024. You get a brand new gaming PC. You're looking for new games to play, and then you think of the game League of Legends. You've heard people talking about it before. You've never seen anything about it, but you know it's extremely popular, and you know you can only play it on PC. So you go and you download the game. Then you hop into your first game, and this is what you see happening on screen. Yeah, no, you're never going to understand what's happening there as a brand new player. And even for a while, you probably won't understand what's going on there. But as a new player, this game can be extremely intimidating. And there's only really one good beginner guide out there on YouTube that I've seen. And now it's outdated because the map changed in 2024. So I figured I would make my own guide, my own beginner's guide to League of Legends in 2024. The only guide you will need for League of Legends from this point going on, at least for beginners. You're not going to see any high-level top-tier tactics in this or anything like that. I am just a casual player who really enjoys League and wants to help out the new guys because this game is really intimidating and really hard to learn. But once you get there, it's really fun and it's really not that confusing once you know what's happening. Okay, folks, you're going to have to strap in here with me for a long ride. This is like my 5th time trying to record this, and I have just not found the perfect way to explain it yet. So I'm going to really slow down, really take my time, and really explain this to you well, as best as I can think. So right here is a map of Summoner's Rift. There's one lane in the top, one lane in the middle, one lane at the bottom, and then the whole section in between with the river we call the jungle. Now, in the top lane, usually you have bruisers and fighters and tanks and things of those nature. In the jungle, you've got a mix of everything, mages, assassins, tanks. The mid lane is usually reserved for mages and assassins. And then the bot lane is usually where the AD carries are and the supports. So now you know how the map looks. You know what to expect when you get into your first game. But how do you actually play the game? What is the goal of the game? How do you win a match? So you'll see here the 3 towers going down every lane of the map. You got to destroy these 3 towers in a row to get to the inhibitor, this little thing right here. And then once you destroy that, you can destroy the last 2 towers, and then you can destroy the nexus to win the game. After you destroy one of the inhibitors, every 10 minutes it'll respawn. You only need to destroy one to actually start destroying or doing damage to the towers in front of the nexus. But for every one that you break, every wave of minions that spawns in that lane will have a super minion. These things are jacked. They will wreck a base if you don't take care of them. And if you destroy all 3 inhibitors, you'll get 2 super minions per lane. And it's cheating when you get 2 super minions per lane. It goes absolutely crazy. Now, obviously, as you're pushing through the map and you're destroying these towers, you'll be getting gold for each tower you destroy. You get gold for every kill you get, every minion you last hit. But when you go to home base, you press B to recall. And when you're at home base, you can buy things in the shop. And this is where the real power comes from. Now, this is where it gets really confusing for a lot of new players. So just bear with me here. The main thing you need to worry about when you're first starting are these 2 little things right here, this AD and this AP. Now, each champion some champions are mixed, but for the most part, each champion has a set route that they will go, whether it's AD or AP. AD being attack damage, AP being ability power. So basically speaking, any mage type attacks will do AP damage. When you launch a magic missile at somebody, usually it does magic damage. It's not always the case. There are some weird exceptions where you would expect it to be physical or magic, but it's the other way around. But that doesn't mean all abilities are AP. There are definitely AD abilities. Hecarim's Cleave, for example. There's all sorts of them. Kha'Zix, Slash. There's all sorts of AD abilities. Okay, guys, so now I've explained to you how the general premise of the game, how it works. I'm sure you want to see how combat actually plays out in the game. So I'm loaded up in the training section here where I'm not actually against any enemies. I spawned a dummy. You can see I'm in the mid lane. You can see that down here. And you can really get a good idea for the map from here. So you see these 3 abilities right here. If I click on one, obviously it's going to unlock that ability. Now, I can only unlock all 3 because I leveled myself up to level 3. Usually when you start the game, you'll be level 1, and you can only pick one of these abilities. But now instead of clicking these, if you want to make it faster, what you can do is hit Control with your pinky and then hit the button to unlock it. You see I just unlocked Q and E without clicking on it at all. So the basic premise of fighting in this game, if I walk over here and just click on him, you see I'm going to start just whacking him. Every champion has this. It's just called an auto attack. And then if I use my Q, it's going to throw this at him. And if I reactivate my Q, it'll blow it up. And I can let it charge or sit there. And then if I use my W, this is an auto attack enhancer. So you see I whack him and it did a little bit of magic damage. And it also, because I am playing Gragas, when I use my W, when Gragas uses an ability, he takes a drink, restoring 57 health points. So every time you use this ability, you're going to be restoring 57 points. But that's just because it's this champion. That's not going to be a thing that goes for every champion. And then you'll see my E, I can use it to displace an enemy. You see I hit him out of the way. You could hit people against walls with it to stun them. Let me see if I can get him over here to the wall and do that for you quick. If I can find the auto refresh cooldowns. Now we'll go over here. Yeah, you see you can hit someone into the wall, and you see how he was getting stunned because he's hitting against the wall. It says it right above his head. Now I'm out of mana, so I can't attack. That's another thing you got to watch out for when you're in game. So I'm going to turn auto refresh mana on. Like I said, it's just because I'm in the training tool that I can do all this stuff. You won't be able to do this in game. So another way to auto attack someone is if you press A on your keyboard and then you just left click anywhere near him. He'll walk over and start automatically attacking whatever you clicked closest to. I almost forgot to show you guys before I ended this section of the video. When you get to level 6, so you see I just leveled myself up to level 6, you can unlock your R. So if I unlock my R, that's going to be your ultimate ability for every champion. Now in the case of Gragas, if you use your R, it's just one of the barrels he throws, but it's big and it'll blow an enemy in the opposite direction and make them airborne for a second. Your ultimate ability usually has the highest mana cost and is the most effective thing in your kit. You know, obviously it's your ultimate ability. Now that's a good general showing of how a champion's abilities work. It's not perfect because some champions have really weird kits with extra abilities or 2 forms, but basic champions, I would say 150 at least out of the 160 plus have that style of kit. Now that you know the general premise of fighting in League, in the rest you'll get, you know, it's pretty self-explanatory. Tanks and fighters are going to be at the front of the team fighting while the mages stay in the mid-range and then poke at people. And the ADCs, the carries, will stay all the way in the back of the team fights. For the most part, they'll stay in the back of the team fights and do poke damage, and that's how everything, or not poke damage, insane amounts of damage. And usually that's how a team fight goes best. Not always, obviously, but as you play the game more, trust me, you will get better at fighting. You are going to be terrible at first. That's just how it is. How am I going to do better than the enemy laner so that I can win the game? So in the first stage of the game, we call the laning phase. It's the early game. It's basically just everyone staying in their lane, you're CSing, maybe trying to get a kill on the opponent if it's a free kill, and you're watching out for the enemy jungler, making sure that they can't gank you. And if you are a jungler, you're farming your camps, you're trying to get as far ahead as fast as possible, and you're trying to get either kills or push the enemy laners out of lane so your laners can get turret gold, whatever it may be. But come 5 minutes in the game, Void Grubs will spawn at the top river section, and the dragon will spawn at the bottom river section of the map. Now, these two objectives play huge roles in winning the game later on. The Void Grubs not as much as the dragon. So when the Void Grubs spawn, there will be 3 of them, and you can kill them to get bonus damage to towers. And if you get 6 Void Grubs, you get bonus damage to towers, and I believe every minion that dies under tower spawns a little Voidling that does a little bit of damage before dying. Come 5 minutes, the dragon's going to spawn as well. Now, the dragon is the big objective for most junglers at the 5 minute point. We don't really care as much about the first grubs as we do the first drag. Now, usually, if mid lane can rotate to help with the first dragon, they will. Same with bot lane. Sometimes big skirmishes break out over first dragon, and whole games can be lost off of losing first dragon fight. If your whole team dies and each person on their team got a kill, it's pretty tough to make a comeback from that. They just got a 1,000 gold 1,500 gold difference. If no one on your team had bounties or anything, they just got 1,500 gold to their team. So, first dragon, you want to be there on spawn if you can as a jungler, and you want to make sure that your bot laners have priority, which basically just means that their minions are shoved against the enemy's tower so that the enemy can't go anywhere, and they can rotate for free up to help you with the dragon before going back to their lane to continue farming. Now, at 14 minutes into the game, the Rift Herald will spawn where the Void Grubs were. Now, the Rift Herald, we call her Shelly. Shelly is the GOAT. She is a tower-destroying machine, and with this new season in 2024, you can now jump into Shelly, and you can drift her towards the opponent's towers and smash into them while controlling her. Other than that, if you don't want to do that, you just set Shelly down in front of a tower. She'll auto-target it once all the minions are gone, and she'll do a big charge into it that'll do a bunch of damage or destroy the tower, and she'll keep doing this until she is destroyed. If Shelly is pushing against you, or if you're fighting Shelly trying to get her from where she spawns at her objective point, if you pop the pimple on her back every time it spawns, you will do a significant amount of damage compared to just whacking her from the front. Now at 20 minutes is when the real big boy spawns in. Meet Baron Nashor. Now, Baron Nashor is one of the biggest buffs you can get in the game. Once you kill Baron, all the minions that you are standing around will be enhanced for that time. The cannon minions can sit out of range of the towers and destroy towers. Baron buff really is like the final push to the victory kind of buff, especially if you've got two or all three inhibitors destroyed and you get Baron and you've got one person in each lane. It's almost impossible to stop all those enhanced minions, especially the enhanced mega minions. Now, once you've killed Baron, you also get a faster recall time, and there is something else I will put on screen right here because I can't remember off the top of my head. But besides that, the only other big objectives are the dragons, which I already talked about, but let me explain a little better here. I'll put a graph on right here on the screen somewhere that will show you what each dragon does and what its benefits are. Now, the idea of dragons. The first dragon's going to spawn. It's going to pull from this pool of dragon types. And once that dragon's been destroyed, it's now going to pull one that's not the one that you've already killed. And same thing with the third one. But after the third one and all dragons then on out will be the same until one team has killed 4 dragons. Now, once one team has killed 4 dragons, they'll get the dragon soul, which basically just makes whatever the last dragon you killed to get your soul was, it's going to give you an enhanced version of that. So in the case of Cloud Drake, there will be these portals. You'll get a speed boost, and there will be these little spots around the map that you see when you run through them. You'll go a lot faster. Now, after one team has killed all 4 dragons, then the Elder Dragon will spawn. And the Elder Dragon is the team fight buff. It gives you a % health execute, so if they drop below a certain percentage of health, they just instantly die. It is crazy strong. I have made some of the most insane Hecarim clips in the world from having a Baron buff and just running in and smacking Q as hard as I can. It is crazy. If you can get the Elder Dragon buff, you pretty much guarantee a win as long as you don't all die before you... Because if you die, you lose the buff before it runs out of time. Now, that's not to say that you're invincible once you've gotten the buff, because believe me, I have thrown plenty of games that we got an Elder Dragon in, but usually that happens because you're fighting on Dragon, your team gets it, but then you lose the fight that you were fighting for Dragon. So now that you have a basic understanding of how the game's going to play out, what your role is going to be for each step of the game, I want to talk to you about what champions you should be playing when you first start the game. Now, really, you should be playing something you like to play, but you should be playing a champion with a simple kit that's not hard to understand. I suggest starting mid lane or support. I really don't recommend starting top lane. That's where everyone always says you should start, and whenever you're playing with a group of friends, they'll pretty much always stick you in the top lane. I think that's terrible. But if you feel like you have to play top lane, I say play Garen or Darius. And then after you get the hang of it, after 20 or so games, maybe try some Alawi. Alawi is a really good, easy, flexible top laner. So for you mid laners, to be completely honest, I don't really have three great suggestions for you. I guess if I had to give you some suggestions, I would say Malzahar, Nefiri, even though Nefiri, a lot of people might disagree with that. I think she's really easy to play and really fun. And then probably like Echo. Echo's a little harder. You might want to wait until you've learned some other champions to try and play Echo, but he's a really solid mid lane and jungle flexible pick. Okay, so for you ADCs, it's not even a question. I think you need to know Ashe, Misfortune, and Jinx. I think they're three of the best bot laners easily. They're always really strong. One of them will always be a good pick, no matter what the meta is. And for the supports, I would say Blitzcrank is obviously everyone needs to know Blitzcrank if you want to play support. I think you need to know how to play Rel. I think that's going to be really controversial. I never see anyone playing Rel besides in the LCS and pros. I think she is so great, so much fun, and she can be played in the jungle. And then finally, I would say Morgana, just to bring in that mage, heavy CC, really, really heavy CC kind of deal to the table. And then for any of you out there who are looking to play jungle, the first thing I would say to you is don't. But if I can't convince your mind otherwise, I would probably say first one you definitely want to learn is a Mumu. There's zero questions about it. A Mumu is just a GOAT. He is a staple. You need to learn him. He is the first jungler you should ever play in the game. Now, besides Mumu, I would say Kayn and Master Yi are also really great jungle picks, really easy ones to learn and pick up on. And carry, even as a less experienced player, if you get ahead as these two champs, you really can just run in and kill everybody. It is kind of insane. So Master Yi and Kayn are my last two picks for the jungle. Now that's about all I think I can really give you guys for now. I hopefully, as I get better at video recording and editing, I can come back to this topic and visit it in better detail, or maybe I'll do a second follow-up video and just add things on top. I'm not sure yet. But seriously, if you have watched it to this far, it means the world to me. Obviously, this is my first video on this channel. This is my first real video, really. And if you did enjoy it, a like and subscription would be greatly appreciated. And for a little bonus for any of you out there that are still watching at this point, Corki. Corki is the GOAT of this game. If you really want to have who I find to be one of the most fun champions to play, especially if you get Corgi, you can just be a little Corgi flying around. It's sick, man. Corki is the shit. Go play Corki. Love you guys. Have a great one.